ṣe lọ́dọọdún yìí rọ̀ mọ́.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Music of my childhood was completely British and American.
So my signature tune is pretty much
and like you said, I'm robbers rob, they no see you. They don't see me, my brother. It happened to me.
Many months and many years and come and go.
the music is the way that the whole world can connect.
Sometimes music goes with comedy. I love music.
Let the love for music keep burning in you.
Music and art, a must watch.
The finals of the Men and Women African Cup of Nations. It's always frenetic. On days such as this, there are no tribes, no religion. Here, Nigerian warriors are out to represent, to show the skills that makes us the best. On days like this, the color is one. The color is green. When we get the job done, it is because we have stuck together. When we celebrate, we stand together. Nigerians, united in victory. We are Nigerians. We are one.
Gas pipelines are the arteries for powering electricity. When the artery is burst, then the entire system collapses. Vandalizing gas pipelines is a criminal offense against the Nigerian people. Let us join hands and protect.
Amina Ali, one of the abducted Chibok schoolgirls rescued from Boko Haram captivity by the Nigerian military.
Federal government commends Nigerian workers for demonstrating the spirit of patriotism against the strike.
Senate President Saraki's trial continues with new dimension at cross-examination of witness.
We are showing that those counts cannot stand because you haven't proved anything.
The strategy is to weary a witness, is to demoralize him, is to break him down.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we focus on matters arising from the Gender Equality Bill, plus a conversation on the Chibok schoolgirl who was found recently.
The United Nations says that women are more than 50% of the world's population. They perform 2/3 of the world's work, yet receive 1/10 of the world's income, and also own 1/100th of the world's property. They represent a staggering 70% of world's 1 billion poorest people.
Well, yes, Blessing, and in some cultures, especially in Nigeria, women are denied rights to their children and their spouses' property upon the death of their husbands. And also, owning landed property or right to bail a detained citizen is often denied to women.
Well, this is quite right, Kingsley. This no doubt runs contrary to United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which seeks to create equality in law and also in social situations, such as in democratic activities and also securing equal pay for equal work.
Well, data from the United Nations indicates that Nigeria ranks at 118 out of 134 countries in the Gender Equality Index. Of course, there are more than 134 countries around the world. I'd say about 200 or so of them, including principalities and dependencies. But Nigeria is set to rank 118 out of 134 in the data gathered. And that women face real-time poverty, growth, inequality, molestation, and injustice. Now, according to a number of surveys, no appreciable development can be made either at the local, national, or international platforms without recognizing women as equal players.
And in pursuit of the United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon's position that when we empower women, we empower communities, nations, and also entire human family. A Nigerian senator introduced a bill entitled the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill, which was killed on arrival through a voice majority vote. What are the issues revolving around gender equality bill failure in the Senate? And what could be done to redress the fears of inequality in Nigerians' polity? Answers to these and more will be provided by experts in the studio. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria for today. My name is Blessing Abu.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo, and I join Blessing in also welcoming you to this edition of the program, reaching you as always live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. In the course of the program, of course, we shall also discuss the story of the missing Chibok schoolgirl who was found. That's a story that's been widely reported, of course, in our newspaper review. I'm sure the stories will be there on the front pages, or at least inside the pages of the papers. We are kicking off the program this morning now, and Lydia Bassey is our guide. Hi, Lydia.
Thanks, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigeria. One of the abducted Chibok schoolgirls, Amina Ali, was among the persons rescued by the troops of the Nigerian Army at Bale, near Damboa. Acting Director, Army Public Relations Colonel Sani Kukasheka Usman gave the confirmation in a statement Wednesday. The rescued girl has a 4-month-old baby named Sefia, and report indicates that her husband has also been captured by troops. The suspected Boko Haram terrorist Mohammed Hayatu and the nursing mother have been taken to Maiduguri for further medical attention and screening. Meanwhile, collaboration between troops of 25 Brigade Damboa and Civil Joint Task Force is ongoing. Meanwhile, the rescued Chibok schoolgirl Amina Ali was airlifted by Nigeria Air Force Suma Puma aircraft from Damboa to Maiduguri alongside her baby and supposed husband, Mohammed Hayatu. Prior to that, they were examined at Air Force Medical Facility and were found to be stable, and normal blood pressure was observed. Thereafter, she was released to the Operation Lafia Dole headquarters for further investigation and handing over. After preliminary investigation, the rescued girl and her baby has been handed over to Borno State Governor Kashim Shettima at Government House, Maiduguri, by the Acting General Officer Commanding 7th Division, Brigadier General Victor Ezegu, in a brief ceremony. Meanwhile, the supposed husband is undergoing further investigation at Joint Intelligence Center. It should be noted that Mohammed Hayatu is well treated in line with Operation Lafia Dole rules of engagement regarding insurgents who voluntarily surrender to the military. In a related development, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Malam Garba Shehu, has given the indication that President Buhari will likely meet with the rescued Chibok girl on Thursday. He says that efforts are on to bring the girl, as well as parents of the abducted Chibok girls, to Abuja, accompanied by the governor of Borno State, Kashim Shettima. In the same vein, President Muhammadu Buhari has attributed the significant progress made so far in the fight against Boko Haram insurgency to the removal of injustice and tackling of corruption in the nation's military. The president stated this at an audience with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar University, Egypt, Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayeb, in the State House. Away from security matters now, the federal government has expressed appreciation to Nigerians, particularly the workforce, for taking the path of honor and demonstrating the spirit of patriotism in the face of prevailing circumstances arising from the deregulation of the fuel price. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports that Labor and Employment Minister Dr. Chris Ngige stated this while briefing newsmen after the Federal Executive Council meeting, saying the massive turnout to work was an indication of understanding of the unavoidable action of government aimed at ensuring sustainable socio-economic development.
We're happy with the Nigerian workers. We're happy with all of you that reported at your duty post. This is a change government, and we want to bring everybody on board into a peace and orderly process. Law and order. We must conform to the rules.
In the circumstances where a labor union that has not complied with the legal conditions precedent threatens a total closure of the economy, indeed a constitutional responsibility has arisen on the part of the government to take steps within the legitimate legal means to ensure that Nigerians are accorded adequate protection.
Reports from across the country indicated that workers substantially complied with the federal government directive not to go on strike since the National Industrial Court had declared such a strike as illegal. In Abuja, correspondent Edino Justice went around some government offices and business centers and reports that majority of the workers who reported for duty said they support the deregulation of the petroleum sector. They, however, demanded corresponding salary increase to cushion the rise in the petrol pump price. Similarly, workers in Borno State did not comply with the directives of the Nigeria Labour Congress to embark on nationwide strike over the recent hike in the pump price of petrol. Normal activities were going on at ministries, agencies, departments, markets, and motor parks in the state capital. And from Ilorin, Kwara State, correspondent Funke Ibidamiton reports that although many civil servants reported for duty, they were unsure of the true position of the strike. Meanwhile, the Senate has mandated its Committee on Labor, Employment and Productivity to interface with the federal government and the organized labor. National Assembly correspondent Mohammed Ali reports that this is to resolve the differences that arose after the recent increase of the price of fuel.
And the ways of resolving the issues to avoid untold hardship to Nigerians. We also mandated the Committee on Labor, under the chairmanship of Mohammed Nazif, to continue to interface with both the government and labor for an early resolution of all the matters. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in closed session? Yes. Thank you.
Also, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Winifred Oyoita, has appealed to civil servants to remain steadfast and support the government in its bid to make life better for them. She spoke to newsmen in Abuja while reacting to the call for industrial action in protest against the subsidy removal by the federal government.
Refusing to go along with this, policy thrust is just postponing the evil day, as it were, because if civil servants say they will not work or they will go on strike, a point will be reached where there may not even be any money at all to even pay them.
The prosecution witness in the ongoing trial of the Senate President at the Code of Conduct Tribunal, Michael Wetkas, has told the tribunal that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission had no official documents linking Senator Abubakar Bukola Saraki to the ownership of London properties said to have been purchased with 375 million naira loan obtained from Guarantee Trust Bank.
Showing that those counts cannot stand because you haven't proved anything. Not only have you not proved anything, in fact, the investigation has been rather incomplete.
The strategy is to weary a witness, is to demoralize him, is to break him down, to break his spirit. That's why you could put a witness in witness box for 10 days.
And that's the news this morning. Thanks for watching. I'm Lydia Bassi. It's back to Blessing and Kingsley for more on Good Morning Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much, dear Lydia Bassi, for the news on Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. We're taking a short break now. When we return, it'll be time for our business package.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Does your antiseptic liquid kill the germs that cause flu, diarrhea, typhoid? Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus leading competition. Dettol is the #1 selling antiseptic liquid, proven to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
Hi, I'm Corey David. Maven. Okay, guess what? The police force is more efficient and more proactive than ever. All we need to do is trust the police and partner with the police. I don't get that lot. God, you win. The police is here to protect and serve you. All they need is your cooperation. There be one for my hand, but God you win. So I'm calling on all communities to cooperate with the police to ensure fast response in case of any emergency. Police na your friend, though. If you no call police, who you want call? I don't change my name to God you win.
This message is from the Nigeria Police Force.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, showing live on this network service of the NTA. Time now for our business report. The federal government pays off outstanding subsidy arrears and global effort towards regulating global fishing irregularities. All the details with Leah Katung Babatunde.
The Minister of Finance, Kemi Adelson, has said the federal government had paid the sum of 48.2 billion naira outstanding subsidy arrears owed oil marketers in 2015. The payment, she explained, was made to enable the oil marketers to import petroleum products and meet up with other financial needs. Adeosun revealed this through the ministry's Director of Information, Mr. Salisu Ambacha, in a statement. She also stated that she had directed the Debt Management Office DMO to pay the claims minus the tax liability of 5.2 billion naira, which was computed by the Federal Inland Revenue Service FIRS. Illegal, unregulated and unreported IUU fishing is about to become much more difficult thanks to the imminent entry into force of the Port State Measure Agreement PSMA, a groundbreaking international accord championed by the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO. Now that the required threshold has been reached, with 30 members having formally deposited their instruments of adherence, the countdown to the entry into force of the PSMA is underway, and on 5th June 2016, the world's first ever binding international accord specifically targeting IUU fishing will become international law. Collectively, the 29 countries and the European Union, which signed as a single party, have formally committed themselves through their instrument of adhesion to the agreement account for more than 62% of worldwide fish imports and 49% of fish exports, which were $133 billion and $139 billion in 2013. Each year, IUU fishing is responsible for annual catches of up to 26 million tons with a value of up to $23 billion. It also undermines efforts to ensure sustainable fisheries and responsible fish stock management around the world. Business News, I'm Leah Katumbaba today.
All right, thank you very much there for the business package. And now it's time for us to take a look at the headlines in some of today's newspapers.
And here's Bayo Atoyebi to take a look at the papers with us again today. Good morning to you, Bayo.
Good morning, Blessing. Good morning, Kingsley, and good morning, Nigeria.
All right, as can be expected, there are two major stories that are trending on the front pages of the papers that we have this morning. The first, of course, is news out of Borno. That's the Chibok schoolgirl who was found, and also matters arising from the current impasse over the increase in the pump price of petrol. Let's begin our review this morning with the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust has as its lead story how Chibok girl was found. She'll undergo medical screening, according to the army. That's a rider to it. And then you have the photograph of the Chibok schoolgirl, Amina Ali Nkeki, 19 years old, is said. And in quotes, her husband being screened by the military. Photograph taken from Sahara Reporters. And then above that, it's also a headline just below the name flag of Daily Trust. Buhari, that's the kicker, corruption prevented military from defeating Boko Haram. For The Guardian has it as its lead story as well. The Guardian says military rescues Chibok girl and over 100 hostages. And breastfeeding girl moved to Maiduguri for treatment. And in quotes, terrorist husband arrested and 15 insurgents killed. You can see the photograph of the rescued girl there with her baby, Amina Ali. That's the rescued girl. For the Vanguard newspaper, you also have it on the front page. This time it's two photographs, composite photographs, by the way. Abducted as Chibok schoolgirl, rescued as a mother. Photograph on the left, and then the alleged husband, it's on the right side. Now, the caption of the photograph says that she was rescued by the Nigerian army from Sambisa forest, close to Cameroon's borders. And above, that's the photograph, her Boko Haram terrorist husband, Mohammed Hayatu, arrested by the troops. Lesson.
Well, so much about the Chibok schoolgirl. Of course, most of them too. The same story trending in the three papers I have here. The Nation, I start off with The Nation. Chibok schoolgirl found with baby and husband. But there are two writers to this particular one. Say, my 6 mates dead. Then Buhari to meet girl. Of course, you have the photograph there of Amina Ali with our baby. And another insert there, you have Amina before her abduction, because there's a photograph before the abduction, and of course to the left-hand side now you have her as a mother. Okay, Amina's Boko Haram husband, Hayatu, is the photograph you have just below that of the schoolgirl before abduction. Moving on to the leadership, after 2 suicide attempts, mother reunites with missing Chibok girl. After 2 suicide attempts, mother reunites with missing Chibok girl. How Amina Ali Nkeki was found with 4-month-old baby meets President Muhammadu Buhari today. And also another rider, Boko Haram's husband, arrested. And yet another rider, uncertainty over fate of 6 abducted girls. All the details you'll find on page 5. And the photograph you have there, of course, the Amina, that of the Boko Haram member who claims to be Amina's husband, as well as Borno State Governor Kashim Shettima with Amina's baby in Maiduguri yesterday. And quickly to the Punch. Just above the masthead, you see I have the story of the Amina's schoolgirl. I never thought I would see you again. Rescued Chibok girl tells mom. That story you find on page 7. And well, I think let's take a look at the story first before we move on to the issue of the strike.
Yes, in fact, there are several versions to the story. The army says that one of the Chibok girls was among persons rescued by our troops. In fact, they gave her name then as Falmata Mbalala. Then a second version also says that the Chibok girl, Amina Ali, has been found by local vigilante group at Kuka Klasa village near Cameroon-Nigeria border. Her name in Chibok secondary school was Aishat Ali. A third version also says that it was made public by Hosea Abana Sambiu. He's the chairman of Chibok community in Abuja. He also says that Amina said that she was falsely married to her husband. And the husband, too, claimed that he was kidnapped from Mubi and taken to Sambisa Forest, where he got married to the girl. The Bring Back Our Girls group are also confirmed, and they said that Amina Ali Darshak Nkeki, that is what they call her, is on the list of the list number 127 of the 219 girls that are missing. But the Nation reports that a local hunter by name Apagu was among, identified her among women and children that were being marshaled out of Sambisa Forest. And he said, that is Amina, I know her, she's from Chibok. And the military now approached her and called her aside. Now, in a long run, one of the reports says that she was taken to Chibok, to her mother, the mother identified her. Another says that she was taken to the secondary school, the vice principal identified her as Aisha Ali on the school list. But the interesting thing was that there was an emotional reunion with her mother. And the mother broke down, and the girl was saying, please, mom, take it easy. I never thought I will ever see you again. Wipe your tears. God has made it possible for us to see each other again. Unfortunately, her father is one of the 19 parents that have died since the abduction.
All right, Bayo, thank you very much. Let's go on to other stories now. We'll return to Vanguard newspaper. Lead for Vanguard story has to do with the strike. So businesses go on as workers shun strike call. And 2 riders, compliance with strike call in few states. And Senate asks committee to interface with the federal government and NLC. And also there on the front page of Vanguard, it says, we increased fuel price because Nigeria is broke. And it's attributed to Lai Mohammed. That's there on the front page, the Minister of Information and Culture. Details of the story can be found on page 46 of Vanguard newspaper. Now, for Daily Trust, that's the second list story also on the front page. Fuel price hike, that's the kicker, with a photograph there. It says, NLC strike flops on day 1. And for The Guardian, second list story also on the front page, NLC moves to make fuel strike effective. And ASU, SANO join action today. And then there are other stories, of course, that we may have time to touch on before we
Okay,
continue.
for the strike, the Punch reported this way with a leading headline, protests in major cities as NLC strike begins. Many workers defy directive, report for work. And also another writer is there saying, Nigeria is broke, says Information Minister. And still on the strike, to the nation we go now. Just beside the photograph, you have strike flops in Port Harcourt, Abuja, Lagos. Two writers to read. Plateau Delta closed offices in Gige to NLC return for talk. Of course, that story continues on page 6 of The Nation. And you have just below Amina, the school, Chibok schoolgirl's photograph. You have NLC members marching on the Federal Secretariat route in Abuja yesterday. And quickly to the leadership. NLC strike witnesses low turnout nationwide. That's you find that story just below the photograph of the same Chibok schoolgirl and Borno state governor. NLC strike witnessed low turnout. That story continues on page 6 of the leadership. But just below the masthead for the leadership this morning, you have Dangote to repair Lokoja Ilorin Road with 30% tax waiver. That story starts right there, but continues on page 5. CCT, prosecution witness lacks evidence against Saraki. That's a story trending on page 7 for the leadership. Okay, Kingsley, no, Bayo.
Thank you. Well, the Nigerian Labour Congress, led by Ayuba Wawa, had the wind taken out of his sail of his proposed strike. Telegraph reports that the strike was ineffective in Lagos and Abuja as offices, banks, and commercial activities went along unhindered. It was also said that 7 states actually had it a little bit successful. That is Cross River, Plateau, Akwa Ibom, Ondo, and Imo, Kwara, and Delta. There were other states that it was partially successful. They include Enugu, Abia, Oyo, Ogun, and Edo. However, there was a Federal Executive Council meeting to brief on the after effect of the increase in pump price. Minister of Information said government has a responsibility to take very difficult decisions. He likened the situation to an employee who was earning 100,000 naira, and all of a sudden the employer says, look, I cannot pay you more than 10,000 naira, and it means that the employer must have to adjust. In fact, he likened it to say, watch my lips, Nigeria is broke. That is exactly how he put it. The Minister of Labour and Productivity was very grateful to workers for them to have turned out to work, and he assured that the 15-man committee has been put up to look into the demands of labor and also look into issues of palliatives. Nigeria Industrial Court, in fact, directed that a status quo ante must be maintained. This seems to have been broken. This is not the first time. In 2004, Afe Babalola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, had actually secured a ruling in a strike between Oshiomhole and the federal government at the High Court. And in that case, NLC was defined as a union, and the union was said can only strike in furtherance of labor and trade union activities. And the argument then was that petroleum pricing is guided by the PPRA Act, and the petroleum pricing is not a trade dispute, and therefore, and that is the basis for which they are before the Industrial Court.
All right, well, let's take other headlines from The Guardian. The Guardian has also on the front page, Farouk Lawan was caught on video collecting $500,000 from Otedola. And then also there on the, that's an ongoing trial, by the way, at the Federal High Court in Abuja. And also on page 4, but promoted on the front page, Jonathan authorized payment of 400 million naira to Metu Okukwe, tells court. And how Bade paid $6.2 million for Maitama property by witness. And from the foot of the front page of Daily Trust, we'll take the 3 headlines. EFCC launches manhunt for Saminu Turaki, that's the former governor of Jigawa State. Convention, court bars PDP from election for 18 offices. Details on page 13. And on page 17, Ghana reaps from Nigeria's aviation fuel shortage. Those are the headlines on the front pages of The Guardian and Daily Trust. And very quickly now, below the name flag of Vanguard, 3 headlines. Egbeda murder, that's the kicker. Autopsy attributes death to respiratory seizure and head injuries. That's on page 40 in detail. And day 2, Ladipo Market mayhem. Ladipo Market is in Lagos, Mushin. Says hotel and plaza raised, 100 traders displaced, others flee. Details on page 20. On page 8, Tiziani's 450 million naira cash. That's the kicker. EFCC examines ex-governor's signature. Blessing.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. For other stories related to the ones you have just taken, beside the message for the Punch, Jonathan approved 400 million naira pay to Metu, says Okukwe. And a rider to it, how we uncovered Saraki's 375 million naira London property, says Witness. That story, all the two stories, of course, you find on page 3. But just at the foot of the Punch, you have some other stories. Alleged 36 billion naira fraud, EFCC in manhunt for ex-governor Turaki. The story you find on page 7. And to pages 4 and 5, you find this story that is trending on the front page as well. I slept with 400 men in 5 months. That's a 22-year-old trafficking victim recounting the story. Ajib shot Bayelsa gas pipeline over attack. That story you find on page 23. I think to some of those other stories, Kingsley, we've taken already, so I'll let Bayo quickly react to some of them.
Let's talk about the pipeline thing. Vandals have again blown up another pipeline in Bayelsa. This time it's the Agip gas pipeline. It's the Sabama Tuyo gas line. You will recall that vandalization has now reduced power supply to 1,400 megawatts daily. And in fact, in our area, for instance, for the past 3 days, there's no power at all. Total Oil Company has also lamented that in Port Harcourt, they say that vandals, cultists, and political war is affecting their operations. Another human interest story which I like to draw attention is that Bongom Jos, the traditional ruler in Jos, Jacob Buba, has spoken against some pastors dubbing individuals as witches and exposing such persons to the ridicule. He was speaking at the 90th General Council of the Church of Christ in Nigeria in Jos, and he said some little children were being accused of witchcraft. They are tortured and brutalized in making what they call a confession statement. He says the habit is that they take the children to the pastors to pray and confirm that they are witches. In fact, he said, in fact, a traditional ruler was lucky and escaped being born alive because a pastor had said that he was initiating people. So this is a development that is very wild. In fact, incidentally, just only 2 days ago, there was a report from Calabar of a man who was flying. They saw him flying, and they described him as a wizard, and he fell. Are you aware of that story?
Yes.
Yes. And people gathered around, only to find out that the poor man is suffering some serious psychological problem. He's said to have lost his wife, lost all his children, and he was kind of seriously disoriented. And the last story is the political story. The PDP is in another quandary now. There is likely to be a parallel convention, one by a group to be staged at Port Harcourt, in Port Harcourt under the chairmanship of Mudu Sherif, while another called himself Concerned PDP, if you will call him CPDP, is also to hold theirs at Abuja. However, there's a federal high court, a federal high court has stopped the convention in Port Harcourt.
All right, Bayo, thank you very much for being with us this morning. We hope to see you again tomorrow.
See you
tomorrow. Of the papers.
Lord willing.
All right, we'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll proceed with our principal items for discussion this morning.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Are you aspiring to become a male or female professional footballer? Get ready as football scouts, player agents, club managers, and other football enthusiasts from Spain, Italy, Netherlands, France, Belgium, and Portugal are about to storm Nigeria for Dodomayana Soccerthon. Ex-international Peter Rufai and some of his former teammates will converge on Abuja, Enugu, Sokoto, Kebbi, Bauchi, Kano, Kaduna, Plateau, Oyo, and Lagos. If you're within the ages of 16 to 21, you are eligible to register as an individual or as a team. Talented under-16 players stand a chance to get scholarships, while 18 years and above could sign lucrative deals with local or foreign club sides. For more information and registration, visit www.dodomayanasoccerthon.com or visit any bank and pay into the Dodomayana Soccerthon account using the Remitter platform. Dodomayana Soccerthon, taking football talent discovery beyond the limits.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, showing live on the network service of the NTA. And this summer, we'll take a look at what we've been talking all day, talking about gender equality. Issues of gender equality have been the subject of much debate during the past decades and have become a prominent topic of debate in most countries of the world. In this report, correspondent Seun Ogunloye takes a look at gender equality in Nigeria.
The promotion of gender equality and the empowerment of women is central to the mandate of the United Nations and intrinsic to its development approach. This effort includes advocating for women and girls' equal rights, combating discriminatory practices, and challenging the roles of stereotypes that affect inequality and exclusion. However, in Nigeria, efforts made to strengthen the rights of women through legislation hit a brick wall on March 15, 2015, when Senator Abiodun Olujimi moved a motion at the Senate. The Nigerian Senate rejected a bill designed to grant women the same marital right as their husbands. While explaining the content of a bill, Olujimi, who is the Deputy Minority Whip of the Senate, said that it seeks equal rights for women in marriage, education, and job. In a bill, she said that a widow would automatically become the custodian of children in the event of the death of her husband and would also inherit his property. Speaking in support of the bill, Ike Ekweremadu, Deputy Senate President, stated that countries develop where women are given equal opportunities. Senate President Bukola Saraki put the bill to a vote, to which opposing senators shouted a thunderous nay.
In favor that the bill be read the second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it.
A similar bill was presented at the 7th Senate by Chris Anyanwu, former senator from Imo State, but it was rejected as well. That notwithstanding, there is growing agitation for the bill to be represented and passed into law in pursuit of the United Nations human rights provision. The advocacy cut across human rights activists, women, and other interest groups. Underscoring the principle of gender equality, many believe that unless women and girls are able to fully realize their rights in all spheres of life, human development will not be advanced.
All right, thank you very much, Seun, for that background report. We have with us here in the studios at this moment the sponsor of the bill, which unfortunately failed in the Senate. It's distinguished Senator Abiodun Olujimi, good morning and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And then we also have with us the woman leader and politician, of course, Hajia Binta Muazu. Hajia Binta, it's our pleasure that you're with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning.
Okay, Blessing?
Yes, thank you very much. Is it because it's a woman's stuff?
No, I mean,
just my thoughts.
No, in that case, yeah, no, that's the thought is flowing from your subconscious. Let me begin. Let's go to Senator Olujimi. What was the motivation for the bill?
Like you all know, the bill is not new. It's just a fulfillment of the 1985 assent of the Nigerian government to the CEDAW bill, the Convention Against Discrimination Against Women. And chapters 2 and 4 of the Constitution says if you are part of a convention, you must domesticate it by making it into a viral law. For years, it's been tough getting the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill together. And so when the Senate convened, I thought it was also auspicious for us to bring it back on the front burner so that it could be passed into law. Unfortunately, as you know, it suffered the setback, and the setbacks were based on religion, ethnicity, so that we can at least be at par with all the other nations that have domesticated it. Let me also say quickly that in Nigeria, about 6 states have domesticated it, including my state, Ekiti. And it's waiting for assent in another 12 states. And if we've gone so far, why will it be impossible for us to do it at the national level, to give teeth to equal opportunity? Health purposes, we believed that a woman was not properly matured at 14. But people were talking about balancing it and putting it between 14 and 15. Also, the issue of indigeneity, the possibility of a woman taking on the nationality that she prefers, was also very contentious. Contentious
Okay.
also
All
is
right.
the fact that when
be it politics, home front work, business, whatever, a lady is there to improve the productivity and at the same time to give her own quota for any achievable mission. So for them to go totally against the bill, I think they are not being fair to the women folk. I want to give an example of the issues of inheritance, which she has spoken about.
Practice, the bill is dead at the moment, is it?
Not quite. The Senate President is very desirous at getting it back. So what we're doing is looking at all the contentious issues and ensuring that we mellow down. One of the most contentious issues is that it prescribes a jail sentence for anybody who violates a woman or goes against the spirit of the bill. And so people were like, for once, what are you trying to do? But any bill that cannot be enforced.
The experience of those states, including the Ekiti that you mentioned.
Yeah, we saw Plateau. Plateau, for instance, came, and the former Attorney General also, who handled it, is now with the former governor, who is a senator at the National Assembly. And It's been beautiful all the way because everyone is considered in education, in employment. The bill says when you are employing, you must give 30% to women. And I mean, that...
Qualified women.
Yeah. They are bound because whether you like it or not, the boys have been slow in coming up. The girls have overtaken them. And they're gradually now coming to take up their place in the society. But you see, whether a girl goes 10 years faster, when the boy comes up in 1 year, he overtakes her because there is no reason for them to be equal. But now, if you say employment, you're going to give 30% to women. Education, enrollment into primary school, into secondary school, into universities, you give 30%. That is a major thing because you'll be stabilizing the polity. Whether you like it or not, the women form at least 49% of the populace. And you can't wish away that number. The figure is too large for anyone to just wish away. So we need to deliberately plan for the women as we go along.
Distinguished Senator, thanks for your explanation. But, you know, earlier on when you were taking off the reasons for the objection or rather opposition to the bill, you indicated 3 major ones: ethnicity, religion, as well as tradition. And we have seen over the years judicial decisions actually taking care of some of the aspects of discrimination or unfair practices against women. I mean, if you know, in the East, for instance, where widows are meant to undergo, you know, certain abhorrent practices, you know, there have been court decisions on those ones. But the fact that you still have religion, tradition, and ethnicity popping up would tend to indicate, according to some observers, that these problems are probably far too deep-seated to be addressed by mere legislation. Hajia, what's your reaction?
Well, I think my reaction is for government to come in, not to leave this aspect within the legislative place. And at the same time, the clerics, both in the churches and the mosque, they have to come in, the preachers, to preach, because there's no any religion that supports discrimination to the women. And I'm looking at when it comes to the marriage aspect of it, though the northern area, we, the northern people, prefer to give out our children hands in marriage in good time. But I don't think at the age of 14, 15 is good enough. I'm looking at 18 years old and above. I think it's okay. And regarding to workplace at the same time, there should be equal treatment. With the discrimination, the woman will not be able to contribute enough to what she is expected of, because she's not having equal treatment like other colleague person. As a man and as a lady are not being treated the same way. And religiously is the most important, I think, aspect. The clerics have to come in to preach in mosques and churches, and also the government have to do something, not just to leave the bill within the House of Reps or the Senate. I think there's the little contribution I can say.
To preach, what would the content of the preachment?
Well, when I say preach, they have to teach, they have to sensitize, educate the peoples in the school, teaching them equality, importance of equality within the social environment, showing the importance of woman, that she is to improve all situations. When I say that, in terms of work, in terms of running the affairs of the house, in every sector in life, making emphasis, showing the importance of womanhood in all aspects of life. So,
All right, Haja Abazu. Of course, we'll take a look at empowerment in all its forms: educational empowerment, economic empowerment, and of course the political empowerment.
Yes.
Perhaps by the time we start from the roots itself, bills like this will not suffer such fate, because at the end of the day, everyone is on the same page. But while we're at it, at least you've gotten some sympathizers amongst the men folk who have actually sent in their tweets. And the Twitter handle is right there on your screen at NTAGMN. You could actually tweet at us. Let's take a look at what we feel about what's our perception, really, of this gender equality bill. For Sani Michael Omakoche says, women are seen as second-hand citizens in third world countries like ours. This should change at this time of change slogan.
And Amina Uba Al-Hassan tweets,
Aminu.
I'm sorry, Aminu, that's all. So you caught that. There's a difference between Aminu and Amina, by the way. Yeah. So Aminu is male. Aminu Uba Al-Hassan. No man can equalize what is unequal. Women bring life. They are God's gift to humanity. They are our better halves. I love them all.
What? Sunny is tweeting again. When are we going to clamor for gender mainstreaming when we are still struggling with gender equality? May God help us.
And then, well, okay, of course, the ladies in the studio here are saying amen, but let's get your reaction to this one. It's a tweet by Augustine Edu Boku. Even in the Western world, there is also inequality of genders.
Yeah, that is why we're asking for 35%.
No amen to that?
We're not asking for 50.
Of course not.
We're not ruling the homes. We're still subservient to our husbands.
I was wondering, Senator Olujimi, you have a media background. Of course, you also in charge of Ekiti State at some point in your political career. Do you think that the approach, this jumping, as it were, to the legislative bandwagon is the most effective in this? If you recognize from what you have seen that ethnicity, religion, and tradition are the critical obstacles, couldn't there be a better way of breaking down these barriers, utilizing the media? Because if you live here now, and I live here now, the viewers live here, and they have access to one of these Nollywood movies, what you will find will be a reinforcement of these messages of discrimination against women.
Whether you like it or not, this thing has been in the social media for more than... this bill came in since 1985. 85 to now is a long time.
No, it couldn't have been a bill in 85.
No, the CEDAW
that's from the Beijing,
yeah, and that is the crux of this. In fact, it makes up 80% of whatever is in the bill. And it's been in the public space for so long. It's been debated, it's been talked about. In fact, the Sun newspaper wrote a beautiful editorial on it only 2 weeks ago. And so it's in the public space. It's take over in their homes. Because someone approached me and said, you want my wife to be equal to me? But that is not the issue. We're talking about a general acceptance of women. And in the bill, you will find, at no place will you find and it is after that the committee reports back to the Senate on the thoughts at the public hearing. So you just need to get it to the committee level, whereby every one of us can now come in and say, no, we don't want this one. No, this is bad. Oh, yes, you must include this. And that is when you really need the buy-in of everyone. For now, you just need to transit it to the committee level, whereby they can now tinker with it, people can have a say, people can write, and we put it in shape.
All right, let's take some more. Let's take some more tweets now. We have the tweets pouring in. You can contribute to this at NTA GMN. Edu Poku tweets again. Augustine, it was the last tweet that we read, and then there was no amen to that. So this one, another tweet again says, too many laws that are not enforced in Nigeria, and the gender bill will not be different.
Well, for John Ifejika, he says the gender equality bill exposed the Nigerian Senate as chauvinists and not moving with time.
As Samuel Anthony tweets, the majority of girls under 18 are having boyfriends anyway, so why can't they be married off to avert destruction?
For Oche Kenneth, he says, we all knew what women are up to in this gender bill. To be honest, if this is passed, then they, that is the women, will certainly abuse it.
Ladies, distinguished Senator and Haja, you can respond to this. I mean, the last tweet.
Extra money elsewhere, or she is rising high in her position, or she's making money in her business, I doubt very much. A well brought up person who is religious, who knows the value of a man, she knows that without him she can't go anywhere. Like myself, I am a married woman, I'm a politician. I reach where I am by the support of my husband, and if I am not good with my domestic responsibilities, I don't think so we will stay long up to this time. So I believe a well brought up lady who is really obedient and also religious will like to play her cards very well. And I don't believe in the other person saying that the moment we are being given this privilege, will misuse it.
Thank you very much.
Well, distinguished Senator, closing remarks. There must be push for
every
this
law
legislature.
is liable to abuse. Every law. And even now that we don't have it, there are abuses everywhere.
Yeah.
But you see, like she said, it has to do with your pedigree. I have been married for over 35 years, and I have been in the public space, and I still maintain my home. Everything that I've had in those years have been due to my husband and his belief in me and his projection of my person. How can I now go back on that? Or how can my children do otherwise? It's got to do with your upbringing. And you see, it does not remove from the fact that there is a need for us to do certain things. What should be done must be done, because you're talking only about the home. What about in the political space? When you do all this, and then in the Senate, you have 6 women, 7 women, to 103 men. I mean, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up.
Affirmative action.
It doesn't add up that we give so much and we get so little.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, distinguished Senator Biodun Olujimi, sponsor of the Gender Parity Bill, so we'd like to rechristen it at this time. We'd like to thank you for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
We also would like to thank Hajia Binta Moazu for your contribution to our discussion this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll take on the second item for our conversation this morning.
My name is Peace Anya Musibi, and I'd like to welcome you to the 12th anniversary of the African Movie Academy Awards, the most prestigious film awards for African filmmakers from across the globe. Would love to welcome you to Port Harcourt, Rivers State for this year's edition on the 11th of June. There's no other place to be but Port Harcourt, Rivers State on the 11th of June. Come and join us for the 12th edition of the Africa Movie Academy Awards.
Daily exposure to different environments leads to a buildup of germs, oil, and dirt. These can cause blemishes and uneven skin tone. You need new Dettol Even Tone. It removes 99.9% of germs and is formulated to remove excess oil and dirt, helping to reduce the appearance of blemishes, giving your family the confidence of healthy, even-toned skin. For an even better you, new Dettol Even Tone.
Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
In today's world, television is still the most popular source of information. Therefore, connecting effectively with viewers using proper expressions that they could understand and recall easily can make or mar the reputation of the presenter on the television channel. NTA Television College Jos has the answer. Come and take advantage of our top-of-the-mind and intensive interaction designed for television presenters, script writers, news editors, television journalists, hosts of live events, and the 4-week course on English grammar and pronunciation for broadcasters. Date 6 June to 1st July 2016. Venue NTA Television College, Rayfield, Jos. Fees 100,000 naira per participant, accommodation inclusive. The course will equip participants with practical knowledge of English phonetics and phonology, rudimentary and functional principles of English grammar and usage, basics of writing skills and editing of written works. Be there, NTA Television College, Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Thank you for joining us. And the program is still Good Morning Nigeria, showing live on the NTA. Yes, we're just through with the first part of the discussion. This second leg of the discussion is taking a look at the story of Amina Ali, one of the Chibok girls found just the edge of the Sambisa forest. This morning we're being joined from our Lagos studio. We'll start off with a guest in the Lagos studio, a security expert, Captain Ali Omar, retired. It's good to have you join us, and thank you for your patience for this discussion, because we understand you've been there for quite some time. Thank you very much for joining us for this program this morning.
Morning.
And in our Abuja studio, we are being joined also by a security expert, Kabiru Adamu. We'd like to say thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you, Blessing.
Okay. Okay, yes, for security experts, there is a need that what the Nigerian army is doing, or the Nigerian military is doing actually, is something that is key at this point in time. My question is going, of course, first to Captain Aliu Omar in Lagos. One of the over 200 Chibok girls, of course, Ali, like I pointed out, has just been found. And this is giving us some pointers to what new things or new dimension this is taking. What is your view on this present developments?
2 years into their disappearance, we've rescued one, or one was found rather. It's a big leap that has given us an opportunity to get closer to the destination of these girls. She was found, also confirms the fact that there are indeed Chibok girls who are missing. Some people have been touting this theory of a possibility of they are not even existing at all. So we are seeing a situation where that lone girl that was picked up, and also do I call him a terrorist now, that was found, her purported husband, actually what I can call a bundle of intelligence for our agencies, depending on who handles them and the skill sets involved and what they look for. A lot can be gleaned off this girl if she's properly, handled and debriefed, that can bring us closer to where the other, would I say, 211 now are also, because I learnt some 6 have passed on. If you take that out from 219, that will give you 213, less her 212. So that will bring us much closer, and it is my sincere hope that we seize this window of opportunity and use it properly.
Okay, thank you very much, Captain Ali Omar. Now, okay, but taking a look at well, there are different stories or different reports attributed to this discovery or this young girl being found now as a woman. She was identified, well, at least those are parts of the different reports, by a vigilante or a hunter on the fringes of the Sambisa forest. But that gives to mind who really or what really are we on the lookout for? If somebody could just be identified amongst a group of ladies, not just actually being taken to cognizance, okay, the rescue mission, wherever they actually have placed their indication to actually look for these girls. But it took the vigilante or somebody from Chibok community. So what exactly are we having in terms of intelligence and actually sighting wherever these other girls could be?
Yeah, you have to understand that there were a group of people within which this girl was, and she was cited as one of the girls that was taken out from that school on that blessed April day in 2014. Now the thing is this, they were meant to be people who were actually being evacuated after the military had launched an operation in Sambisa. And if she was actually one of such people, then we can begin to say where particularly was that operation launched, and can we begin to comb the environs. Next also is the fact that people in Sambisa, I have been as close as possible to Sambisa. People in Sambisa in large numbers cannot thrive without water. I mentioned it once. There is a river line somewhere within that area that feeds whatever you see as that forest. The water table is a bit higher, that's why it sits in the desert and you have a forest reserve there. If we can actually begin to see what we can do to fan out some probably 5 kilometers on the banks of that river outward on each side, we may come across these settlements. Then the girl herself can give valuable information that could verify or nullify other information that has been taken earlier. What that means is our security agencies could actually have some information they got years back, which is not looking feasible, suddenly go red based on what the girl says. And that is where her handlers have to have the right skill set. And other than that, if we have these specialities, there are tests that can be conducted on her that should be able to bring us closer to exactly where that camp should be. I'll give you an example. There is nowhere on this planet where the sand samples are identical. I mean, all over. There are skill sets that can tell you where you got your sand samples from. If you took sand from anywhere on the planet and brought it, because there is soil composition and there is soil texture. So we could be able to look at you and say, this came from here or there. The girl herself, as I told you, is a bundle of intelligence or information rather, depending on the skill sets at hand. If you remember, there was this boy, there was this boy who was found headless and dead in the Thames, and with the right equipment, they traced him back to a state in Nigeria. So nothing under the sky is hidden anymore. All you require is the right skill set. And right now we have, with all due respect, 2 samples from a pool of people we are looking for, and they are crawling with intelligence information if we reach out to the right minds and the know-hows and the skill sets. So it's exciting.
Much, Captain Ali Omar. Okay, back to us in the Abuja studio. Yes, talking about skills and intelligence, Malam Kabir Adamu, could it just have been just out of the ordinary that a supposed terrorist, who is the husband now, would just see off or go with the same girl, whom at least we know that have been captured and of course abducted over 2 years ago, just to walk in just freely like that, bearing in mind that this same forest had been combed in and out, or supposedly in and out, by security experts? What do we begin to see in that? What could just be responsible for that same terrorist to actually come on the same mission with her back to where they have been discovered?
it appears what happened in the last 2 days is a manifestation of the military successes that we've been talking about. The campaign that the military has started, the cleanup campaign that the military has begun, has provided the environment for the civilian JTF and other components of the counterinsurgency warfare that we're seeing to go into Sambisa forest and then to discover these insurgents. Now, from what we're hearing, although not confirmed, it appears there were 2 insurgents that were captured. Now, it is the interrogation of those 2 suspects that led to the whereabouts of the girl and her husband. The other information we're hearing, also not confirmed, is that the husband himself was also a victim. So he was captured, forcefully conscripted into Boko Haram, and then in the process, it confirms a theory that we've had before, which is the fact that Boko Haram promises their conscripted members marriage to abducted girls. And because what we're hearing is that when he was conscripted, he was now, Amina was now married off to him. And what she is saying is that he is also a victim. She is a victim and he is also a victim. Now at this stage, it is not confirmed. Further interrogation would reveal whether truly he is a member of the group or a conscripted member of the group. From our perspective, we believe that there are probably about 4 categories of membership of Boko Haram, and that this person in question is at the last stage of the membership. So yes, some analysts can categorize him as a victim. But back to your question, I believe it is a military operation that has provided the right environment for this.
To just walk in?
Well, for other components of the counterinsurgency warfare to rescue these victims. Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened. The environment is such a vast environment, very difficult to operate in, and I still believe that there are components of the Sambisa forest that have still not been reached by the Nigerian military, and that as we go forward in this mop-up stage of the operation, that we will further revelations like Amina's case would most likely be encountered.
All right, thank you very much, Kabiru Adamona. My question goes to Captain Ali Umar. Captain Umar, thanks a lot for your elaborate explanations much earlier. I'm just wondering, do we have enough information to begin to draw conclusions almost immediately? And some persons have asked the question, if the lady was amongst those abducted 2 years ago, could she have suffered so severely from the so-called Stockholm syndrome that even when she was found amongst a group of other women, she couldn't find her bearing to say, hey, listen, I have to eject myself from this bondage? In other words, how come she so, as it were, collapsed into the Boko Haram structure along with her husband?
That itself is a very interesting dimension to it, and I must bring you to this perspective of the Stockholm syndrome. Let me use a term our viewers can relate with. Let's talk about post-event stress disorder. Post-event stress disorder is like a scar that you carry for the rest of your life. And it's actually when memories of the trauma you went through begin to come back, either in flashes or even in sleep. In some cases, it will even affect your personality and your interpersonal relationship. It could even make you a recluse or a diffident person. I have a colleague who was in Liberia and he's back now, but he has this fear for turning bends. Anywhere there is a bend, even on the street, he becomes a little bit very, very excited because they used to walk into ambushes at bends there. Now, for her handling, we have to be careful. If we really want to get information out of Amina, we have to get experts that can actually enter her subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is in everyone, and it's more powerful and more retentive than the conscious mind. But if you cannot get her into what we call her alpha state and guide her through so she can begin to go back there and give you distinct explanation of what happened and probably even recall names and places and items and things she saw, you risk having her get excited or traumatized while she's doing it, and you will not be able to extract the best from her. That's why I said it's a skill set thing. It's a highly specialist thing. Now the thing there is, if we begin to debrief Amina, we shouldn't expect a today, tomorrow kind of thing. She has to be put in an environment that will begin to bring her back to 2016 Nigeria, because as far as I'm concerned, they went back to, do I call it, the Stone Age. And when we have started doing that, gradually the experts, depending on what kind of information they seek, will begin to actually come around her and talk to her. And gradually you will see her unfold. It's not information we can expect within hours. It's something that is ongoing. It's an ongoing thing. And because it is ongoing, you need the right people, or if I could say the right handlers, that will begin to get this information from her. So the information required is not necessarily within the avenue of the DSS and the SSS alone. We could even use psychologists that could use skill sets like auto-suggestion. Auto-suggestion begins to build her confidence, because when you repeat things to her frequently, her subconscious mind imbibes it. An example is like telling her, hey, it's okay right now. You are out of it. You are out of it. It's behind you. If you repeat it frequently over time, her subconscious mind is going to take it. They are not new techniques. We have seen countries use them, particularly in events like the Olympics. There's a particular country that is notorious for taking all the medals or the gold medals in Olympics, and all they do is just enter the subconscious minds of their athletes and insert that message there, and the athletes virtually come out and act it out as it is in the subconscious. So it's a very interesting opportunity. It's a big one, and depending on how quickly, how intensively and carefully we go, you'll be surprised we're going to come out with an El Dorado of intelligence.
Leo Mark, thank you very much. We'll return to you briefly, but let's now come back to another security expert, of course. That's Kabiru Adamu, who's with us in the Abuja studios. Some observers had sometimes wondered about the likely consequence of the intensity of the bombardment that we have seen in recent months inside Sambisa. And there were fears that perhaps, if a bunker was targeted, you had no way of ascertaining who was on the bunker, for instance. And we have seen the armories, underground armories of the terrorists being raided and exposed, and so on and so forth. So there were fears that perhaps, collateral damage might have taken along some of the hostages. Should we continue to entertain such fears, or in the light of the finding of the Chibok schoolgirl, that perhaps it might lead to a reordering of the bombardment strategy?
I would go with the theory that says the Nigerian Air Force in particular has exercised great restraint, mainly because of this fact that you mentioned. A couple of times we've been told that they had an idea of where these girls were, even though they were not very certain about the identity of the girls. Remember that the Chibok girls are not the only girls that have been abducted, but based on the intelligence gathering tech capabilities at their disposal, they knew that certain girls were in certain locations. And from what we know, they exercised restraint in bombarding those areas, mainly to save those girls. There was this famous video that was shot sometime last year, I think around February last year, that showed the insurgents dispersing for a particular part of Sambisa forest. And the reasons were told by the military at that point is because they believed there were innocent victims in those locations. So yes, they've exercised restraint. Going forward, what I would like to see is, if you remember, the counterinsurgency operations has three components. It appears we're concentrating too much on the military component, which is where your question is coming from. People like Amina and her husband have been sold an ideology. And whether that ideology is correct or not, unfortunately, they appear to have accepted the ideology, sometimes forcefully, or sometimes as a result of the consequence of where they found themselves. As human instinct, the first thing you want to do is survive, which I think is what the poor girl did. She adopted it in order to survive. Now, what would be important going forward is to send out a counter ideology for people that are already in circumstances like Amina's, not to believe that this existing ideology by Jamaat al-Islam al-Dawati wal-Jihad is the only ideology. A very good example is this. What are the tenets of marriage in Islam? Must there be consent by, for instance, the person concerned and the parents of the person? How can you marry off someone? From the interrogation of Amina, we were told that it was the commander in the location where she was that married her off. Does he have that right? Now, there needs to be a counter ideology that we give those indications. And if we do that, then we stop further, instances like the case of Amina.
Okay. Captain Ali, Omar, let's take a look at this other scenario. While not preempting whatever intelligence skills that the military will be employing to actually get more information, as you have requested, of how this situation should be handled, could we take a look at what other things will be going on in the minds of the terrorists, releasing just this person, that is Amina Ali, and that of the supposed husband? Let's see or test the ground to see what other things we could actually do to elicit some kind of attention from the Nigerian government, even in a fight to actually rout them out of their hiding place.
You have to understand that Amina's situation was not a deliberate, move. There wasn't actually an operation that went out looking for a Chibok girl per se. So we were, fortunate to get Amina. And just as we are fortunate, the other side, the balancing side, probably for the insurgents is unfortunate. So they are going to actually be working on ensuring that whatever they think Amina can give us is quickly obviated, quickly deleted. They may be looking to shift bases. They may be looking to move these girls if they are within Sambisa. And that is where we have the opportunity to intensify what you call aggressive search and destroy patrols on the part of the army. And if they have to move, then it becomes more difficult. Now, Sambisa is big, awesomely big. But one thing we also have to understand is they do not occupy the entire span of Sambisa. They are in clusters, in pockets, wherever their camps are. From the number of 100 evacuees within which Amina was reported, you begin to glean off intelligence that 100 people have to eat, 100 people have to drink. That's considerable amount of food. So what is the supply line like? How do we begin to spot these camps and probably besiege the camps? Because you cannot attack, as my colleague said at your end there, these people use their hostages as human shields. But how can we begin to besiege these camps and cut off those supply lines that sustain their existence as a people? And by so doing, we could actually put them into a situation where we can start exchanging probably supplies for our daughters. And how do we begin to spot these camps to besiege them? There are equipments that can actually sense. I saw one some time ago in the United States. It's an old, outdated equipment. It's known as the Condor satellite. That machine up there can actually give you the heartbeat of a field mouse. You listen to it. So there are also equipments that can sense your body temperature. So where you have people clustered in hundreds and you zoom it across that aerial place, you are going to get signals. And the higher you go, the easier it is for you to cover wide areas. So as wide as Sambisa is, you will be surprised that an equipment that is about 100,000 kilometers up there or more would actually find Sambisa And if you took the scale, it will probably just be as wide as 10 centimeters on a map. So aerial surveillance is key. There is no way you can cover Sambisa manually. It's not possible. And when you get these signals along the frequencies I have explained, you can begin to zero in on these areas. There are markets that are proximate to Sambisa. If the northeast is virtually shut down and just recovering, and you put a little bit more surveillance at these markets, you may see people coming in to buy food in large quantity. That should begin to tickle your curiosity. If people are running outward Maiduguri and someone is coming to markets to get such number of or such volume of food, we may want to find out where is the destination of the food. I'll give you an example. March last, I was in Maiduguri with a team and we went as far as the Gambaru-Ngala border. We did a lot of confirmatory exercises, ran into pockets of these insurgents, had gunfights. But we discovered something. They were selling cattle to raise money because they had been routed. So the Honorable, I beg your pardon, the Executive Governor of Borno State, His Excellency Kashim Ibrahim, passed a law that no one can sell cattle casually anymore. So there is a streamlined place where you take cattle. These are measures that cut them off. And at a point in time, you discover that just like soldiers, every insurgent marches on his stomach. People in their camps will need to feed. They need to be sustained. The popular way of sacking villages and looting foodstuff, it's out of the picture right now. So the beautiful thing about it is we have to start looking at the advantages of their disadvantage to us. And the moment we begin to see it that way, we'll actually be in line to routing these people quickly. And one of the pointers to these advantages of their disadvantages are these two people we have with us. As my colleague has said, we cannot begin to say whether they are insurgents or they are victims. There are a lot of, circumstances. But one thing is key. We have people who have been in close and intimate contact with insurgents, and we can glean first-hand information from them.
All right, Captain Ali Umar, thank you very much. Probably we'll have one last question for you to close your thoughts, but you'll respond very briefly. There have been a number of tweets that have come in. Some of them we'll take right now. And then, this one is from Nance. Nance, N-A-S, that's the handle. Enough facts should have been gathered about her abductors while questioning the girl and be made secret before announcing her rescue.
Oh, for Oladipo Olaleye, just one of the questions I think I raised earlier. And if truly the purported husband is her husband and terrorist, would it have come that easy?
And then, that's a follow-up to that by the same Olaleye is that how did she get to the edge of the forest? Okay, if Johnny Fejika tweets, Amina is the authentic informer and guide to the military as regards the Boko Haram operations. Well,
for Samuel Anthony, Abubakar Sadiq Komona, return of one among abducted Chibok girl is showing that remaining alive by side captures.
All right, let's Captain Umar, let's get your closing thoughts. Well, we are dealing with the moment. 10 years down the road, 15, 20 years, nobody knows what's going to happen. Now, initial reports about the schoolgirl the Chibok schoolgirl who was found, the reports have already started describing her purported husband as a terrorist husband. What is this likely to do to the psychology of both Amina herself and her baby, and what should be done immediately to begin to address this?
Very key, very important indeed. That is the mentality we seem to have within this national space called Nigeria. We do not focus on the real issues. We go into sentiments. Whether he's a terrorist or he's not a terrorist is not the issue. The information we can glean off him is the issue. That child has been born. The circumstances within which that child was born is unfortunate. But I can tell you that that will have no blemish or implication on the future that child will have. The future of that child depends on what we make of it. If we decide to treat that child in ways that we shouldn't, then we are going to create another vista of problem. Okay, we mustn't, with all due respect, let me use the Tupac syndrome. We mustn't end up creating a monster from an innocent child because someone was unthinking enough to allow a pregnant woman serve a jail time and have her child in jail. So Tupac came out with that notion and became what he was. Let's not do that to this baby. Amina is a victim. The young man involved may be a victim, he may be not. It will depend on the skill sets of his interrogators to predetermine whether indeed he was kidnapped, where he was kidnapped, when he was kidnapped, and if he was inducted. As my colleague said, there are levels of insurgents. The ones I met during my tour or the ones we came across are the ones that have to kill one member of their family to become members of the Boko Haram. Could this young man be one of those? Could he not? So it's going to take time. It's a function of time, skill, imagination, and expertise, and we have to follow it carefully.
All right. Thank you very much, Captain Ali, Security Expert. Captain Ali Omar, retired. Thank you very much. You joined us from our Lagos studio.
You're welcome.
Back to us here, some quick tweets, because one of the questions is going to be the last question we're likely to pose to you. I agree with Captain Aliu on debriefing Amina and the use of auto-suggestions. Do we have the capabilities? That's from John Ifejika. I thought you were...
Well, that's right. Well, but for the question, I thought you wanted Adamu to respond to. But let me take the other tweet as well. The captain, that's Captain Umar, really spoke as a security expert. I hope our security men in uniform are taking notes. So now the question that my colleague Blessing asked is, do we have the capabilities for, skill set, by the way, for the various measures that are required at this time?
I believe we have the capability. However, what is very important is to see a fusion of effort by the different security organizations. This skill set may not be lying in just one organization. So if you bring all of them together, especially the ones that are more familiar with working with civilians, so for instance, the DSS and several others, I believe that when they come together, they will be able to do that. Unfortunately, I must say that I've already seen areas of mistake. And in that regard, I would like to probably caution, especially the media, on the handling of stories like that of Amina. We're dealing with a human being who, as the case were, is most likely a victim of the circumstances she has found herself. The innocent child has also found himself in a circumstance that he didn't contribute to. Now, we've seen pictures of Amina, we've seen pictures of that child, and portrayed in a manner that, frankly, would make her more of a victim. People that were rescued, or before Amina, not necessarily Chibok girls, we've read stories of some of them actually wanting to go back to Boko Haram, mainly because they were rejected by the same society that they came from. So I think the government needs to come in there, first to counsel Amina herself, and then the society that she would go back to accept her.
Right. Kabiru Adamu, Security Expert, thank you very much for joining us this morning in our program. And we appreciate your insightful contribution. Okay, to our companion segment now. First to sports. Flying Eagles, of course, are set to confront their counterpart in Burundi in the CAF Under-20 Championship qualifier in Bujumbura, as Sevilla defeats Liverpool in Europa League final to become the first club to win the cup in 3 successive seasons. Let's join our Sport Desk for the details.
Defending African Under-20 champions, Nigeria's Flying Eagles intensified their quest for qualification for the 2017 CAF Under-20 Championship when they take on Burundi in the second round first leg qualifier in Bujumbura. A team of 18 players, including captain Kelechi Nwakali and forward Victor Osimhen, which left Abuja Wednesday with coach Emmanuel Amuneke, have set their sights on victory when action kickstarts at the Prince Louis Stadium in Bujumbura Saturday at 1 p.m. The winner of the two-legged fixture will confront Sudan in the final qualifying round for the championship scheduled for Zambia next year.
Sevilla survived a first-half loss before hitting back with 3 second-half goals to beat Liverpool 3-1 in the Europa League final.